Smooth night. And it is gone past 6:30 for Tuesday morning, right here on Smooth Breakfast. That means we've got Business Express for the next 15 minutes. I'm Sope Martins, and joining me, I've got Rotis. Good morning.
Good morning, Sope. Good morning to all our listeners, viewers, and good morning to our special guest from Nairametrics as well.
Yes. We've got our macroeconomics analyst with Nairametrics, Samuel Oyekanmi. Good morning. How are you, kind sir?
Very fine. Good morning, Sope. Good morning, Rotis. Trust the week is to a good start.
It is off to a fantastic start. People, we've got money to talk about today. So join this conversation. We are already streaming live up on youtube.com/smooth981FM Lagos. Join me to leave your comments on the live chat. You can also send your WhatsApp messages to 0809 440 981 or use the hashtag BusinessExpress981 up on Twitter. All right, Rotis, Samuel, let's talk money. Who's giving what over 3 years and how much for what?
Yeah, the Americans, they've started again. At the beginning of every summit or every conference, they announce an amount of money that they're giving to the African continent. So in this case, this is before the US African Leaders Summit that kicks off today and ends on Thursday. And the Americans yesterday, late last night, I think, or somewhere in the middle of the day, announced that they were pledging $55 billion to the African continent over the next 3 years. And it's going to be for economic development, health, and a number of other things. So I don't know, there are 54 countries in Africa, and you have, 55 billion. So maybe roughly just under, just a little over, it's a little under $1 billion for everybody, I believe, on the continent. Samuel, is that enough over 3 years?
That would be a little over $1 billion, actually.
A little over, yes.
Yeah. But, one thing about money, again, is that especially for African continent that is really ravaged with a lot of issues. Of course, they always need money. For example, the likes of Ghana is still going to the IMF for some form of intervention. Nigeria is also still looking to getting some form of forex intervention from bilateral, multilaterals due to the economic issues. So, of course, you cannot say 50 billion is enough, but it is actually something, because this money is not like it's going to be shared equally across the African continent. So when you look at the 54 countries in Africa, if you take away the top 5, take away the likes of Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt, Morocco, Algeria, the rest are quite minimal. So some of them will get about 500 million, 700 million. And of course, this fund is not like I just giving it to you, like hands down, like it's form of an investment. But the statement about the money, that's what matters. It's not just the money, because of course it's not only the US that wants to have relationship with African countries, the likes of China and some other Asian countries, even other countries in Europe, the United Kingdom. They all want to have a relationship with African countries because they also have some things to gain in terms of international trade. Some of these countries import most of the raw items that they use to produce some of their finished goods. Oil companies, a lot of them do their exploration business here in Africa. So of course, they just want to have a good relationship. And as much as we say $55 billion is quite small, of course, if you look at the numbers in the past 7 years, the numbers have actually come down, they've reduced, but it is something, it's not about the figure. It's just about the fact that they want to create more, they want to solidify their relationship. And don't forget that there's high competition now between the US, Russia, and then China. Everyone is just trying to get a large pie of the cake. And if you look at the numbers, you realize that India, one of the strong guys in Asia, who happens to be top Nigeria's export destination, had dropped. Spain had taken over. So it tells you that there's a lot of shifts going on, and every country just want to find a way to be at the best position when it comes to African countries, because of course we have a lot to offer in terms of raw economic value.
Okay. All right. With all these, President Buhari is there already. Nana Akufo-Addo, I think, is going to be there. Other leaders, Alassane Ouattara, and so on and so forth. If or three of us, if Shokwe, yourself, and me were three African nations or leaders, and we're all going to DC to go and meet President Biden, are we looking out for our own individual interests, or are we working together as a collective for the entire continent? How would we work it out?
And if we're working together as a collective for the entire continent, what would we be looking at? That as well as what I'd like to know.
Right.
Wow, very interesting question. In my own opinion, right, and it's not really cast in stone, I think at the end of the day, everyone is also they will fend for themselves. If African countries want to be able to collectively demand for things from other countries, I think they do that back here home, not there at the summit. At that point there, I feel everyone is going to fight for themselves because they are not even on equal grounds. I don't think even the US sees each of these African countries as equals, right? So they also have particular interest in some of these countries. You wouldn't expect them to, and then when you look at them holistically, I don't think they invited all the 54 countries, by the way. I think they invited some, yeah. I know Zimbabwe, Zambia or something, Gambia, the presidents are over there. So they're quite selective. In that same vein, I do not expect African countries to go there as a whole. I would expect them to start having policies in their African Union meetings, their ECOWAS meetings, to talk about some constructive issues because Africans have reservations about foreign countries, US, UK, especially those who colonized us, about some of the things that they are doing here in Nigeria. If it is oil spillage, if it is just the fact that they dump some of their export materials here and whatnot, we have reservations. But if you are going to talk about them, I think it's something that they should do here back home, not something they're going to deal over there at the US summit. Right now, in my own opinion, I reckon that they would all be fighting for themselves, except Nigeria's fights as a big brother anyways for other countries.
All right, good. Let's bring up Nigeria as a big brother and, the weight that we would carry with this. So when our president is going over there, I mean, we saw what China's premier came back with, Xi Jinping. He was in Saudi Arabia on Wednesday. By Friday, he had signed $30 billion worth of deals. Please, what should Mr. President of Nigeria be coming back home with?
Well, I also believe that he will be coming with something. If you are having 55 billion, of course, there's not so much to go around, and it's 3 years or stuff anyways. But I think it's less of the money and more of relationship, the kind of relationship you want to create with the US. The US is still a world power. Some of the things you want to request goes around security, immigration, trade. Our trade balance is starkly abnormal. So we are importing a lot more from all these other countries, and they do not export they don't import as much from us. And that is not favorable to our own current account balance. So we need to start having conversations around some of the things that would affect our economy. So when they bring in their funds into Nigeria, they're bringing it through as FDI or as FPI. A lot of investors in recent time would not want to bring their money directly into the Nigerian economy. They would want to do that through FPI so that they can easily repatriate their fund. But we need FDIs in order to grow our economy. So if you're asking that, you talk, you demand, if you can, if that's the word, or you cry out, or whatever the word can be now, for direct investment. They should also create policies around in their countries that would help our exchange rate get stronger here in Nigeria. I saw a rumor one time that the US would be canceling out all currencies that were produced or that were manufactured less than 2021. Yeah, that was a rumor, but that would have been a big shocker in Nigeria. Would have really turned the whole black market upside down. So we need to have those kind of discussions, policies that would help Nigerian economy. That was what I would think. Money, well, it's just going to be shared anyways.
Okay. Real quick, let's pop in some messages. Victor Shion up on WhatsApp says some countries in Africa are smaller than counties and states in the United States. So presidents of these nations might not have much to offer in the US summit. Like Nigeria would not be in the same weighting as a Comoros, right? Ogene Ochuko says the US should not just give funds, they should follow its implementation on the projects. Interesting stuff.
True. Good point. Real quick, Samuel, our latest debt figures. I want to quickly touch on that. I think debt management office released numbers on Friday, and debt service for the first 9 months now is up, I think 24% year on year to 3 trillion naira. Total debt is now at 44 trillion as at September. What was the impact of these numbers, man?
Well, interesting. I would even interestingly want to look at the third quarter, right? So yeah, debt service numbers have gone up over 20% in the first 9 months. But the quarter here, we actually spent over 1 trillion naira to service both local and foreign debt in Q3 2022, and that is like the highest on record, and that tells us a lot. In terms of our debt numbers, to be fair, right, Richards, I know a lot of Nigerians are always particular about the Naira value, 44 trillion, but in actual sense, our debt stock actually declined. It actually declined a little bit in terms of dollar terms. So the only reason why we're saying it did go up was because of exchange rate. That's just it. Because we had some repayment. I think in Q3 we did a repayment around some green bonds or something, and that was why we had some form of decline. And then, of course, because of the depreciating exchange rate, our external debt stock would also reduce by the time you do those conversions. So in actual sense, it did reduce. But in terms of our debt service, it's still a problem, because when you compare that to revenue, we earlier in the year we had calculated that we spent over 110% of our revenue on debt service, and right now we might actually be heading for 100% by the end of the year, because revenue has not been doing well, and that is the major problem. It just seems like we are in a limbo, and we are taking new debt, and we are using it to pay previous debt, only to get another debt. And it's quite ridiculous. But that looks like it's going to continue because, of course, our fiscal balance is still negative for over 10 years. Except you do something about revenue, nothing is going to happen. We'll keep paying high interest. And right now we are in a high interest environment globally. So our external debt is going to suck a lot of funds. Our domestic debt will also suck a lot, because treasury bill yield have gone up. Bond yields have gone up, because that's the only way you can incentivize people to come and buy your debt instrument, considering inflation rate of over 21%. So of course, we'll keep paying that at this moment, except we have a turnaround in our revenue basket.
All right, gentlemen, we've come to the end of the show. Unfortunately.
Great stuff from Samuel as usual. Great stuff.
Yep. Samuel Oyekanmi, thank you so much for joining us. And do remember, go check out Nairametrics.com and follow Nairametrics across social media platforms to stay in the game and stay in the know. And of course, you can find Rotus at Rotanquote. He is everywhere on social media. I don't know why I say that, Rotus. You're on Instagram and you're on Twitter. Where else are you on?
That's it. Those are the 2 main ones.
So he's on Twitter.
Samuel is on Samuel. Say you're on Twitter as well, please.
My Twitter is at Samuel Oyekanmi. And every other place it's Samuel Oyekanmi or Startinomics.
Samuel, I was going to laud you for just using your name, because I'm one of the name game people. Just put your names everywhere, emails, social media handles, that's it. We're done. Then you have to come and do Startinomics, but we'll take it as well. All right, thank you so much.